there's no single home for all those very beautiful, well-written ideas, innovations, etc. You find some of them are in the Ministry of Finance, some of them in the Ministry of Agriculture, some of them in the Ministry of Trade and Industry, some are with NGOs, development partners. There is no single home where you can actually go and find all these things together. Others are actually gathering dust on the shelves. I'm thinking that we may need a home for those kind of things, so that when you need some information about the agricultural sector, you know where to go and you know where to find it. Definitely there are challenges in this country, in the entire value chain, which I believe you people are aware of, and I don't have to go into the details, right from production and to the market. And I'm one of those who believe that, you know, before you even produce any single item, you must know the market and how you're going to get to that market. Everything is competitive these days. So we must find a way of addressing these challenges. Recently, the G20 were talking about the 4 I's: innovation, integration, interrelationship, and inclusiveness. So I think these are good strategies. I have actually read the national strategy on agriculture. I've also read the district strategic development plans. And at the district level, I'm afraid their development plans, those that I read, are not strategic in nature. And I believe in this country, everybody, what we do in agriculture must be based on our strategic interests. And how are we going to address this strategy? Maybe under these 4 sectors. So without becoming a lecturer and talking too much, I would like us to really share some ideas on this, or whatever you have, because this is an open discussion. And later on, maybe each of us will come up with suggestions and here and there. And we'll see how best we can develop this sector. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. So may I now open the floor to all of you. Anybody with an open mind, talk about what you feel can best help this sector. This light is directly in my face, so I may not be able to see a hand up. Is everybody satisfied? Yes, my friend, you may introduce yourself and talk.
My name is Charles Okwalinga. I work for an organization called Uganda Professionals Enterprise Forum, but the current hot project on my plate is with TESO agricultural farmers dealing with the fruit factory and the fruit industry there. Working with the village groups and the farmers, what you say is very, very good, and a very good point that the issues in the district level and the rural places are really, really weak. And we talk about finance and the big bucks and the big banks. I walk to the banks and they have the famous village savings and loan schemes, the only provision they seem to have for supporting the rural farmers. And the attitude and the mindset and the strategy they have is simply not fit for purpose. They say, we help these farmers to bring a little of their money here, we keep it for them instead of keeping it under the mattress, blah, blah, blah. But no person saying, how can a farmer realistically achieve the production goals to make them financially viable and also feed into an investment like the fruit factory in TESO. Obviously, I've come across a problem I'm dealing with, which requires funding, but the fact that the factory is just about to be closed and there was a government delegation to get updates, but in the report 2 weeks ago in the national papers, nobody talked about what the farmers, whether they are ready to supply the factory. But most crucially, There's a fungal and bacterial infection that has ravaged the whole of the region. And I mean, it is really dangerous that if it's not dealt with, the fruit factory will have no fruit next season. But the point is, who supports them? So I went to the district and they say, yeah, well, we are local government, you understand. And the support system at the local level is very, very weak. And I think the long debates I've had with the UAA and the support groups is that the startup and the lower levels of funding are very tricky. Actually, agriculture is chronic for not supporting startup or initial stages of value chain development. So I think everybody understands that every good child needs to be nurtured from birth. Why would we not be laboring to nurture the startup and the innovation at the grassroots of the development chain and also the supply chain?
Thank you very much, Charles. I've been reminded that I actually jumped the gun. I was supposed to have helped with the introduction first before I went into that. So maybe very, very, very fast as we go along. Should we start with introduction? No, we jump now to the next. Let us now jump to the next program. Mr. Katende is going to take you through what actually transpired yesterday, and maybe that may end up to be the focus of the discussion today, this morning in this session. So, Mr. Katende.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We had thought it would be prudent to know who is in the room, especially later on for networking purposes, but let's leave that to the discussion session. So when we get to the discussion, to the reactions to the presentation I'm going to make, I will request you when you are asking a question to introduce yourself so that we know who is in the room later on when we start the networking session. We should be able to know who to talk to. As I wait for my presentation, this is a presentation that we made yesterday in terms of way forward. Yesterday, as I said, government was meeting the people who are directly financing agriculture in Uganda, and that is the banks. We had a similar meeting with them on the 19th of July, and that time we had the Africa Development Bank and the Alliance for Green Revolution in Africa, AGRA, presenting what they thought was a model for financing agriculture that has been tested in some countries like Nigeria and Kenya. And they wanted Uganda to embrace that. They call it the incentive-based risk-sharing model for agriculture lending. On the 19th of July, we came up with so many recommendations. Most of these recommendations are not new. Actually, for some of you who have been in the industry for a long time, it's the same stuff that has been coming up. So yesterday we wanted to say, okay, now that we know what needs to be done, what should be the way forward when it comes to lending to agriculture? So I will ask Steve, you can help me to go through this very quickly, then so that people know where we are. The key issue here is, as we talk about financing, there is no doubt that the current agriculture financing does not unlock the potential of the sector. We know that there is quite a lot of money in the banks. There is money that Uganda government has put in its own institutions, like Uganda Development Bank, like Pride Micro, like Post Bank. We have Microfinance Support Center. A number of other schemes like the Youth Venture Fund. Then we have money in our own financial institutions. We have a number of private equity firms that are looking to invest in Uganda. We have the capital market. But with all these avenues, access to finance is still a big challenge. especially for people at the production level, who are mainly the smallholder farmer. And there is a big challenge as how do we reach out to these people? How can we ensure that all these farmers are bankable? And so that was one of the conclusions that we all reached. The second one, in view of that, we said that there is a need for a catalytic fund, of catalytic financing in the public sector to stimulate private sector investments. I attended a meeting for the people in the sugar industry. I think it was in April. We were doing something with them with FAO and IFC. And one of the new entrants in the sector said in her area, she has struggled to get finance for her farmers. I think the representative from Matiak is here. And the banks wanted her to mortgage her property as the owner of this factory. However, they are charging like something like 33%. And her farmers have no history at all when it comes to borrowing, and they can't find money. And this is a facility of about $50 million that, in their view, think that it will transform the area. But when we spoke to the banks said, well, we cannot do that. Firstly, there is no history of sugar canes growing in the north, so we can't lend. Secondly, we think there is an oversupply of sugar in the market, even when Uganda government was trying to do deals with Kenya. Thirdly, the closest market there is South Sudan. It's volatile. We can't lend. So that left the only bank in the room, which was Uganda Development Bank, as the only bank that could actually address such issues. And we know that our government has promised to capitalize Uganda Development Bank probably for the last 2 years. That has not happened yet. So we need that money in the public sector, especially in those institutions that are owned by our government, for on lending to viable businesses, so that they can create a demonstrative effect which the private sector banks can also see that there is money to be made and they can come in. A typical example that was given, although this is not public sector banks, but it was given, was Equity Bank in Kenya. The banks were not going to the poor people. Equity Bank went to the poor people. It demonstrated that you can actually make money lending to the poor people, the smaller players. And now in Kenya, Equity Bank is bigger than the banks that have been there for a century by lending to smaller guys. Is that a model that Uganda government can adopt by empowering and strengthening some of its banks to start lending, so it creates a demonstrable effect that will encourage more people to lend? So we hope that that catalytic fund should be able to stimulate private sector lending. And then we need more money in the financial institutions to unlock longer-term patient investment finance. One of the conclusions that we derived from this as well is that there is a lot of short-term financing, but agriculture is long-term. You may not make money in 2-3 years, but maybe in year 7 you make money. But what is available is 6 months to 3 years. That is not going to help a coffee farmer who starts picking probably after 3 years. And we believe that capital markets could be one avenue. Probably the pension funds could be another one, but the laws are prohibitive. And so the issue here is can we find a way of availing long-term finance, whether in the banking sector or the microfinance, that reach as many players as possible. So that was another conclusion, and in terms of way forward, it's something that we are looking at. The third conclusion was we need stronger financial markets. Our financial market is still very weak. We need it to be broader so that it can reach more customers. We want it to utilize innovations in the banking sector, like digital banking. There is a new law which amended the previous Financial Institutions Act, which allows banks now to do Islamic banking. For some people, they think it is cheap. So we want it to be available. The same law allows banks now to sell insurance products, which is called bank insurance. And the third thing that it allows them to do is mobile agents banking, so that Stanbic does not need to be in that remote village in Atiak, but a mobile money agent there can also take deposits on behalf of Stanbic. The regulations, the act is in place, but the regulations are not yet there. So one of the requests we had yesterday with Bank of Uganda, the Deputy Governor was here, and the Ministry of Finance, was to speed up the drafting of those regulations, because we believe that will help the banks to do more so they can reach more customers. The other thing is we need a deeper financial market that offer more and innovative products. No offense to the bankers in the room, but the general consensus has been that our banks are lazy when it comes to innovating products. They have easier ways to make money. There are people now running to China to trade, and they pay back very quickly. Uganda government issues treasury bills every now and then, and it offers a good return. So there is no point for a bank, because that treasury bill or bond is risk-free. So to your typical bank, you are much safer buying the treasury bills than lending to agriculture. When the Development Finance Department in Bank of Uganda was closed, all the money they had was given to Uganda Development Bank. That's what the governor told us yesterday. But what did UDB do on day 2? They bought treasury bills from Bank of Uganda, which gave them the money. And that money was supposed to be lent for development. So it is much easier for the banks to make quicker money. And in terms of recommendations from our previous work, we hope that maybe with us as a platform working with the Uganda Institute or Uganda Bankers Association and Ministry of Finance, we can help to design some products, the generic products that the industry can use so they can reach more farmers. But there are instruments that have been in place. They are here mainly in theory. For example, the warehouse receipt system. Has it really worked? Has it helped anybody? But have we bothered to actually ask why it doesn't work and do something about it so it works, because it should unlock more finance for the sector. So those were the key conclusions that came out of the meeting. Next, Steve. So we think that in order to implement some of the recommendations that have come out of the previous meetings, we need to have some bit of coordination for the agriculture sector, both at policy and practice levels. When you look at a sector like dairy, people are saying there was a research that has been done, and in that research, finance was probably ranked number 10 in terms of the priorities for the key players. A lot of them are saying we need better breeds as our number 1 priority. We need water. But when it comes to government level, the ministry in charge of water is not in MAIF. So you need MAIF to work with the Ministry of Water. There are mandates to be played around with. When somebody doesn't do what they have to do, who is going to tell them off? So we think that there are a number of cross-cutting issues that should unlock agriculture development in our country. And the only way that this can be done is to have an effective coordinating agency, which in our view is the mandate of the Office of the Prime Minister. And we are working with them to ensure that that is done effectively. So whichever ministry, whichever agency, whichever department that has to play a role in unlocking the agriculture sector plays its role. Then we also feel that the multi-stakeholder approach is needed. We need government to listen more to the private sector. Yesterday we had a meeting here. The government spoke more than the private sector. And my personal view is that government needs to listen more to the private sector. Listen more to the private sector concerns, and then use public resources to address those private sector concerns. Today we are having a number of platforms, like the coffee platform. These platforms are extremely crucial by bringing together people from all walks of life, researchers, civil society organizations, government, the private sector, to identify crucial areas that need to collective action. The last bit in terms of principles here is developing the financial value chain alone is not going to help, because finance, after all, is one enabler. There are a number of other issues that need to be addressed in order for us to see the green revolution that we yearn for. So our view is that we need to consider both the financial and the agriculture value chains. Next, please. You can skip that and go to the next one, please. And the reason why I brought this up is that if we are to develop the sector, what we have as FSD there is financial sector development. We need to think about financial sector development. And the discussion yesterday and on the 17th of July and previous discussions were basically looking at that. And as Uganda Group Business Alliance, we run an agriculture finance platform. In that platform, we are doing so many things. At the moment, we are undertaking a mapping exercise to see what is available, who is doing what products are there, what instruments are we using to finance, where are the gaps, where are the mismatches. We also look at the policies. Uganda government, because of our work, Uganda government has committed to develop an agriculture financing policy this year and a strategy. They have committed to develop an agriculture insurance policy. There's already an insurance scheme that is being piloted, but all that falls under the financial sector development. However, that alone, in our view, is not going to unlock the sector. We believe markets are very important. So there must be a deliberate effort to develop agricultural markets. There are so many commentators who will say the markets are there. But I don't think it makes any sense for you to tell me the market is there when the farmer, very poor woman, has no salt in her house, but she has an acre of mangoes rotting in her garden. And you tell me in Kampala a mango costs 1,000 shillings. But this poor lady cannot buy a kilo of salt, which is 800 shillings. We need to help her to get those mangoes in whatever standard, in whatever quality, to that market that you are telling us exists. So that's what the market development is all about. But we also feel that doing everything agriculture is not good. I think we need to take a value chain approach, looking at key value chains and identifying key issues in those individual value chains, and then collectively work to improve and develop the entire chain. So if it is coffee, like the coffee platform people have done, they look at the entire coffee value chain and see where are the challenges, where are the gaps, how do we fill these gaps. Are issues of policy important? Do you need a policy in any case to develop this chain? If not, what do we need from government to develop the sector? What do we need from researchers? What do we need from the banks? What do we need from civil society? So at the end, the entire value chain is developed. But we also feel there are a number of other enablers, land being one of them. Agriculture is a land-based industry. Do we need land reforms as a country? Or using a value chain approach and perhaps clustering people, can we maximize the available land that we have without necessarily coming up with a new law that will antagonize people? Inputs are extremely important, like water, seeds. The scriptures tell us what you sow is what you reap. I think it's also an adage. But what is the quality of seeds that we have on the market? What is the quality of agricultural chemicals that we have on the market? Where is the water? You know, there is a water resources engineer here who will talk to us at some stage. So what's the prediction of availability of water for irrigation in our country? Are we going to rely on rain-fed agriculture for forever? Or is water becoming a scarce input? And what are we doing about it? So all those are key issues that extension and farm management, these are real issues. The governor yesterday told us that whoever talks about risk mitigation in Uganda for the farmers, I mean for agriculture, without looking at the source of risk is making a mistake. And in his view, the biggest source of risk was the farmer. Although that is debatable, but probably the farmer is the most affected when it comes to agriculture risks. And by providing effective extension services and farm management, probably with some bit of insurance and other risk mitigating tools, we would be able to help that farmer reduce the risk due to them. So I want to pause there and allow you to have a discussion on this particular subject. We want to hear your views, what you think about what I have shared so far, and also what you also think about these enablers, and if there is any other enabler that we have left out, so we can include it in the plan. The plan after here is to work with the Office of the Prime Minister, so they can bring all the line ministries responsible for the different enablers that we have identified, and then together develop a roadmap of working together so we can collectively develop the agriculture sector. So your feedback at this moment is extremely important. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kaptende. What more can I add? The facts are there. Charles, your question was partly answered, but when we interact, I think more answers will come out on the way forward. Of course, I talked of in a jig-jag way of the three facts: VCD, the value chain development, the financial service development, and the market development. And I was thinking in terms of the 4 I's: the innovation, the way of doing these things innovatively, the way of doing it in an integrated manner, the way of doing it in an interrelationship manner, and the way of doing it in an inclusive manner. I think he has explained it in a layman's language, and I think we are on the right track. So now the floor is open to you to add to this your open-minded point of view. Thank you very much. We can continue from here. The floor is open. I will start with the lady now, and then I... Yeah.
Thank you
Let's
very
start
much.
with the lady and move.
My name is Santa Joyce Lake. I am the chairperson of Atiak Sugarcane Plantation Outgrowers Cooperative Society. Thank you very much. I'm honored to have been invited to this conference. I'll talk for the rural or the local. When we talk about the local content in these conferences or in this setup, we tend to talk of the local in the urban areas, forgetting the bulk of the community in the actual rural areas. Looking at the way forward here and whatever has come out from yesterday's discussion, I have two concerns. One, I don't hear both partners and government talking about the problem the rural community have in having collaterals, or they call it, to take to the bank to acquire loans. That's why they've resorted to village savings, because they have nowhere to go. And yet we believe in a democratic country like this, where we vote government into power. They should listen. I agree with my son there who said bankers and government or people in position of leadership should do more of listening than them talking. They like lecturing to us more than listening to us who voted them in. Now my concern is, how are we going to be supported in the context of having collateral? We have land. Like for example in northern Uganda, we have it. We don't deny that. But how can we use that land to enable us access finance? For sure, I cannot afford to register my land. I can't afford. If I live in a house where the bedroom is there, the sitting room is there, the kitchen is there, how can I afford to register land? Look at the process, so bureaucratic. And because of not having gone to school much, the knowledge also is very little. If not, it's not actually there. So how do they expect agriculture to help me out of my poverty or out of whatever I have? And yet they say land is the biggest asset. Asset in what context? To me, is that village woman. I'm actually one, because I flew in last night. So why I have attended so many conferences, name it. Nobody talks about supporting the rural woman or the rural man there to have her land or his land registered. 2, they don't talk about proper land use. 3, we have extension workers in the districts. I can assure you, first they are underutilized, because I cannot produce quality maize or quality simsim. How do I get to know what quality simsim is all about if the learned or the educated don't tell me? Last but not least for the time now is information. There's a big information gap. I was so shocked when I heard a whole governor of Bank of Uganda saying they have reduced interest rates, but they have no control over commercial banks to reduce their interest rate. What do I now? Whom should I rely on, and who should help me if not the governor of Bank of Uganda, who controls these commercial banks? If you reduce the interest rate, automatically there must be some policy of saying the commercial bank should also reduce. Now where do I go? Do I have to go to President Museveni? I can't. Even accessing him is like castrating somebody.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Joyce. Your point is well made on the issue of finance, collaterals of land, and information. Maybe we give at least a maximum of 3 minutes to each of us so that everybody can have time really. Your turn, please.
Thank you very much. Yes, I'm Professor Charles Sechewa. I represent the agriculture sector on the private sector Uganda board. I really appreciate the presentation by Mr. Katende. It is very thorough. And I would like, probably in our layman's language, to emphasize 2 points that I think will help us to unlock the agriculture sector development in Uganda. The very first one is the fact that we are all off course. That is really my feeling, and also basing on his presentation. We have not internalized the environment within which we perform agriculture. We have not. Actually, the farmer knows better that environment than anybody else. We have not understood the complexity that is down there. Mr. Katende touches that, but not to the great detail that we actually deserve to consider. The farming community out there where we perform agriculture is very diverse. Actually, the whole of our country and the continent is very diverse. If we are to cause development in agriculture, which is our mainstay, the major activity in this country, then we have seriously to look at that environment within which this agriculture takes place. Where we have issues of land, where we have issues of finance, where we have issues of climate change, issues of health, issues of education, and so on. The human resource, that is the policymaker category, from which Bakare, if I could say, did they come? Their view of all that takes place in most cases is discipline-oriented. They look at health, they look at agriculture, they look at transport, they look at ICT, everything in isolation of the other. And I think that is the biggest problem. If we can embrace what Mr. Katende is calling a multi-sectoral approach that should be coordinated in the Prime Minister's office, then that will be the beginning. But as we stand today, we must not lose sight of the fact that we have technocrats that are not oriented in that direction. People in the planning authority have this understanding to great detail. But when they plan for us, we don't implement the way they have planned for us. We go back to our unisectoral or discipline-oriented approach, and we start implementing these things in our cocoons. And we forget that in agriculture you cannot perform without transport. For example, if you have very poor roads, you will not perform. If you have HIV/AIDS dominating your village, you will remain a poor village, because the population that would perform agriculture is affected. They are not able to perform agriculture as expected. If you don't have viable technologies, you cannot perform agriculture in order to meet the quality that the market is demanding. So I really feel we need to understand that very well and bring it into our curriculum. The very first thing, let our children understand that complexity and how best to use it to plan for our country and how best to use it to implement policies. If we don't do that, we shall not have the necessary human resource. The second point is about the multi-sectoral, but more so the private sector involvement. Here in our country, we talk about the private sector led economy and the development. Now, the private sector, happy enough, is very much more involved now in policy development, policy planning. But the implementation part, are we enabled enough as the private sector to implement these policies? When you go out to local governments, you will find that they read authorities there, they consider themselves the most able to implement these policies. They don't give much chance to the private sector to take a lead. Now, where are we? It's the private sector that knows issues because they work within that complexity that I have described before, and they know it best. They know where the gaps are. And if you don't engage them, first in the planning, but also more so in the implementation, then you miss a point, and the intended sustainable development, and particularly the development of the agriculture sector, will not take place. I think we need to get back and take this presentation very seriously for the development of the agriculture sector and our country at large. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Charles. You have actually brought out good points in terms of the environment where we operate, the inclusiveness that needs to be done, and of course, another important thing that you brought out is the implementation. We are, as I said before, we have very good policies here and there, scattered, but when it comes to implementation, we have really a big problem. So I think people will take it up from there. Next, let me continue, ladies and gentlemen. Let us have the lady in front, then we take a gentleman, then we take a lady, then a gentleman. Thank you.
Yeah. Good morning. My name is Birgit Haschke. I come from the German Corporation and work with AMFIU, the umbrella organization of microfinance institutes. Well, I agree completely with the previous speaker. There are so many things affected. I try to work in the field of capacity building, and I think that's a very important issue regarding farmers, affecting the farm management, and I think coming from the German experiences that Uganda has a structural problem with the small-scale farmers. I think one way could be also to support larger scaled approaches, and by cooperatives or single entrepreneurs. And the next is that there are already trials to bring capacity to the farmers, and there's also the question of infrastructure. One of the biggest challenges is to access the farmers for banks or for development partners to come to them, because that pushes the costs and then also the interest rates of loans, and also the question of education system. So far, Uganda has a system where it's necessary to pay school fees, what we not have in Germany, and the level of the education is, let's space for improvement. It becomes complicated. People have to pay the school fees. People said then they're the priorities. Farmers, to be a farmer is not a profession with a certain degree. Everybody can do that. So it's also needed to bring more education on the basic level. So so far I very appreciate the idea to coordinate that at the Prime Minister's office. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. That is a very good contribution actually from GIZ. Definitely, we all know the problem of extension work, and we all know that some of our agricultural colleges actually do not train on the ants technocrats, people who would actually work on the farm. And there was an observation from my experience that when you go out there, there are very few farm managers in Uganda. We are producing graduates in agriculture, but do we have farm managers, real farm managers who will go and sit there in the farm and manage the farm? I think your point in capacity building and having technical institutes that would train agricultural technical people and managers is very important. Maybe we can encourage you to go along that line. I had given the floor to him, and then the lady at the back, then we'll come to him and the lady. Then this side, I'm sorry, my eyes, the light is just directly in my face. Let me finish this, I come to here, and then I come on this side. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Komayombi Buleja. I'm an agriculturalist. Yes, we are talking about agricultural financing. I would believe agricultural financing is the responsibility of both public and private sector. But there must be incentives, especially for the private sector. Agriculture production and productivity, must be encouraging for any banks and financial institutions to put in their money. The markets must be developed. Now, for improved agricultural production and productivity and market development, I think it's a shared responsibility between the public sector and the private sector. Okay? I think we need to take a step even before we deliberate so much on agricultural financing. We need to isolate areas where action needs to be taken. And this can only be informed by the challenges that are facing the farmer, because eventually it is the farmer that is producing. So we need to take a step back and see what are the factors that are confronting the farmer. The farmer has problems of seed. The farmer has problems of soil fertility. The farmer has problems of water for irrigation, climate change. You can see. We are now, this is September. By now, crops should have germinated. Hardly anybody has planted. Of course, the farmer needs to be educated through agricultural extension. So I think there are actions where the public sector should come in and invest in public good to stimulate agricultural production and productivity. And this would encourage the banks and other financial institutions to invest in agriculture in terms of financing, because agriculture would be profitable and the return on investment would be good. So I think while government has done quite a lot of work, I think we need some policy adjustments and maybe paradigm shift. Okay? Honestly, for the farmer to produce, you need this seed. Do we have seed? You'll find that the supply is about 15% of the requirement. And of that, maybe about 15-20% is fake. What do? Let's look at other countries. A country like Kenya, they have a seed agency. To produce seed. Sometimes you can actually say that we have so many companies that can produce seed. But yes, government, public sector can work along the private sector. Like here, I'm sorry to take a bit of time, but you'll find that 25 seed companies are dealing in maize. Virtually 70% of the seed they produce is maize. And of that, 70% is hybrid maize. Okay? So who is producing seed for beans? Who is producing seed for groundnuts? Who is producing seed for cassava? Who is producing seed for Irish potatoes? Okay? And these are very key food security crops besides being income crops. So other countries like Kenya, they have seed agents which produce foundation seed, and the private sector picks on that to multiply and make it available. And the banks are able to finance the private sector that are engaged in seed. But government has made available foundation seed, fertilizer, Look at Rwanda. Rwanda, we are now doing about 2 kilograms of nutrient per hectare per year of fertilizer, and yet we require in the range of about 200 kilograms. Rwanda was at our level a few years back, but now they have reached 29 kilograms of nutrient per hectare per year, when we are still at 2. What did they do? Just government intervened, brought in fertilizer and auctioned it on the market. Okay? So why can't the government do that? Eh? Because the government has a responsibility to address market failures where necessary so that the private sector can take on. Irrigation, honestly, if we think individual farmers can construct irrigation channels, and it may be difficult. Probably the many channels would be public goods and people tap from there. And of course the extension is very, very key because the farmer needs to be educated. What is the ratio of the extension worker to the farmers? Okay. So all of these are issues, and I believe while government has done a lot, we need to adjust the policies and refocus and repackage them. Like there is a lot of materials being distributed through NADs and operational wealth creation. But what is the quality? Number two, when they are planted, really what is the productivity given the low levels of soil fertility? So I think we need to take a step back, look at the challenges the farmer is facing, look at areas for financing by the public sectors, public good. Then we cause the private sector, the banks to come in to finance, knowing that, yes, the risks are less and the productivity is good. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kamayon. Sorry for my pronunciation if I'm wrong. You actually brought the challenges that we have ever discussed in such forums, the issue of extension workers. That one is real. The issue of equality of inputs, that is real. The issue of use of safe fertilizers, we are the lowest in East Africa. And you brought out the issue of the policy. I think these are key factors that would actually. So what we need maybe is to get to the nitty-gritty, as you said, policy adjustment, and then maybe like they do elsewhere, a think tank that would think through this and put things in perspective rather than sometimes theoretical. Irrigation definitely requires subsidy, the way it is, as I see it, because climate change is for real. Whether we like it or not, we have to go towards climate change agriculture, smart agriculture. There's no alternative in the coming years. So those are key areas. I think it is noted. I said the lady behind, then it will be you, Mr. Sir. The lady at the back, yeah.
Good morning, members, and my name is Fatuma Wamala. I'm the Executive Director with Girls Education Movement Uganda. We work directly with children and young people, and personally I've been involved in this work for the last 13 years. We work with children in schools primarily and children out of school. Through our work of empowering children to achieve the most from their education, we have set up clubs in schools where one of the factors to keep the club functional, the children have been enabled and educated about starting income generating projects. Our finding from the last 10 years plus shows that clearly that out of over 1,000 clubs running in different districts, whereby the children are not given a directive on what project to do exactly. They're supposed to be creative. They're supposed to look at their own area, the context, and be creative and start something that works for them. Our findings show that 98% of their income generating projects have been agriculture based, directly and indirectly. So this brings me to the point of some of the previous speakers who have talked about curriculum and children, profession of farming, and the complexity of the agricultural development, and helping children to understand it and appreciate it, and also dealing with some of these issues we're talking about here right from the level of the children. Right, and this also brings me to a point of the first speaker, Charles, who raised the issue of the willingness and a space to directly support startups, support and nurture startups. For us who are working with children, this is very, very important. And if we are going to solve some of these issues in agriculture, we need to get back to the children and the young people to understand these issues, to appreciate them. As we move along, we are going to see change, real change. Because right now, talking about extension workers, good, they need to be there. But at what level are we speaking? As that is going on, one of the factors that we need to add to this whole way forward, I think we need to strongly add the aspect of children in this whole puzzle. I think it will go a long way to help us.
Thank you very much. I will not move faster because time is not in our favor. We want people to. I'd already asked the gentleman. Then we will move this side and then maybe come back in the middle.
Thank you so much. My name is Bokana Tony Okana. I work with Coffee Quality Assurance, where I am founding partner and also team leader. At Coffee Quality Assurance, we decided to take on the very critical areas in the coffee value chain, that is production at farm level, processing at roasting level, and then tertiary processing, that is in the cup. Now, talking about investment in agriculture, it's my opinion that, say, looking at farm level production, we'll all appreciate that agriculture in Uganda is driven by, say, tradition and cultural practices, as opposed to passion to produce for the market. Now, we need to pay attention to how do we create a shift in paradigm. You know, farmers stopping to view agriculture from the perspective of tradition, traditional practice, and then begin to generate passion within them to produce for markets. Now here, I thought about a form of sensitization that touches 5 areas. The first is entrepreneurship. Farmers should think like entrepreneurs. The second is leadership. Farmers should crave to produce in a way that other people would want to produce like them. There is the issue of gender and disability. I mean, whether disabled, male or female, everyone should be looked at as equals when it comes to agricultural production. Cause and effect. If I'm not going to go about my farming practices right at the moment, then it's likely that I'm also not going to have good yield or good quality. I mean, yeah, quality yield. And then the fifth possibly is need for behavioral change. If we're going to be producing for the markets, then we must pay attention to all the other aspects of, say, handling of the produce that we've harvested from the garden. Then, of course, at markets, like I mentioned, we do the coffee value chain. Now, markets, again, we have a roaster whose capacity is 800 kilograms per day, say 20 tons in a month.
I'm sorry, can we reduce the marketing aspect and at least give us something that would help us improve on this? Let us reduce on the marketing aspect.
Okay,
I mean, marketing the company or yourselves.
Well, I was talking about markets when it comes to agricultural produce. I wanted to mention the need to diversify. For coffee at the moment, when you talk about consumption of coffee, what rings a bell in anyone's mind is drinking it as hot. Few people know that you'd actually drink coffee as cold. But we're also looking at, can we be able to come up with coffee cakes? Can we be able to come up with coffee cookies? Can we come up with other special, coffee beverages? Say yogurt, coffee flavored, fresh milk to drink, coffee flavored. And above all, government also needs to have a deliberate policy that promotes consumption of coffee. It would have been nice if this morning we had brewed Ugandan coffee as opposed to, say, a chocolate drink or something.
I think you are 3 minutes ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you. Could we possibly have, I see people struggling to turn their back to see who are speaking. Maybe we get 5 people coming up here so that everybody sees you, you present, and so that they remember you when you're networking.
Basically, instead of putting up your hand,
just walk 5
the
people.
first 5 that can come to the podium, please rush. So people can see you. We will do it that way.
Go to the next lot.
Yeah?
Thank you.
But as that is taking place, please don't be scared. Sit.
Yeah. There's time.
Yeah.
As long as we restrict ourselves to 3
Fantastic.
minutes.
So
and I'll restrict myself to summarizing the comments.
Yeah, so we have 5.
So I start on my left. Please introduce yourself.
My name. You can use mine.
Sit there. Hey, it is on.
Hello. Good morning. Okay. My name is Emmanuel Kabali. I am a proud pig farmer and oilseed member, farmer as well. Now, I would like to just augment what other members have already submitted. One, as we look for the money, or as we say we need the funding, what best is this man or woman able to do with the money? As in, how are they handling the production, or how is it going on in the value chain, or in the cassava growing, in the dairy industry, or in the pigs they are keeping? There is a big gap in that. They lack the information. And Papa here has said we need to look at the extension services. Yes, we shall ask government, we shall talk of government, but even as peers, we can do something as farmers. Even as we wait for the development partners, I would like to give a personal testimony. When I had an encounter with GIZ capacity building in financial literacy, I mean, my practice didn't remain the same, and I rolled out on the same, but it was just 2 days of interaction on how I could improve on my practice. Now, I've shared with others, and I have a team of over 1,000 people empowered in this. To this very thing, to this very concern, we've scaled up to having a quarterly magazine. I don't know who will be part of it. This sounds more of an advert, but people need to hear it. As in, you're in coffee value chain, you're in cotton. There's a farmer in Lacho who needs to get that information, who is fidgeting because he has had his neighbor harvested so much out of the simsim in the previous season. After harvesting, how are you handling the money, the little that you have? Some of us have failed to have credit from banks, not because we don't have collateral, but the issue is financial husbandry, record keeping. There is that level. Leave those of us who are .com, you have computer, you can write a concept note to whichever organization in the US and they fund you. My other concern, and lastly, is close to what Madame Namara has shared. There should be an culture of helping the youngsters get introduced or get into this agriculture project. When I was in school, it was a punishment. Many of you testify to this. You go to their farm, and we used to call it WFP. It was a punishment. You clear an anthill, but this is where the real money is. I earn more by practicing agriculture than what I was earning when with Shell. And let's hope the clubs, like she's saying, let's synergize and help the youngsters. I think it's realistic, civil, and practical than a lot of this advocacy and other issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Emmanuel Kabale.
Emmanuel Kabale. Yes.
Thank you.
Madam, take a seat. Yes, please, next.
Yeah, thank you so much. My name's Kelvin Ochaya, and I am a data scientist and a technologist, and I come from Global Business Labs. I have been to so many gatherings, and most times people say that the problem with the nation is actually the mindset of the people, but I think the problem is the mindset of the government. So first we need to deal with the mindset of the government. Because you cannot think for the people, but let the people think for themselves, and then you be there to listen and see how you can implement it, because the people are the solutions themselves. Right now we're talking about how we are going to help the farmers in terms of finances, but I don't know how far they have gone about educating these farmers, especially the flow of finance, how they're going to manage it. Now let's say it's loan. How does loan operate? Because these guys, they have challenges. So they will get the loan, they might think it's not a payback loan, and they use it for something else. At the end of the day, they come to be hunted. So they need to educate these people before you give them the money, really give them the whole ecosystem of how the money is going to be flowing. And also, most times the government comes and encourage farmers to grow like specific types of crops. At the end of the day, you find the whole village or the whole country and all the farmers there are growing the same crop. And the companies come buy it at a cheaper price, and these guys make a lot of losses. And then they say, you know what? And then, they end up being discouraged. So what can the government do? And upon cheating, so how is the government also going to protect these farmers from being cheated by the companies that are going to buy the products? Also exposure to the market. I mean, there need to be a way of, where the government can also go and let the farmers know how the market flow is right now, and which is the best crop to grow. And yeah, I think I can stop there. I'll continue after. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Next, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Don't worry, your things are your points are being recorded by the Secretariat. So go ahead, please.
Yeah, my name is Peter Lubale from One Acre Fund, and I want to talk about two things, that is distribution and information sharing. I think, in my opinion, smallholder farmers basically bear the biggest burden of agricultural production, but then they also face the biggest challenges when it comes to production. But then some of these challenges have been basically solved, more so in our country and elsewhere in the world. And I think the biggest challenge is how to bring the solutions to these challenges to the various smallholders within the country. I think government has a very well decentralized system which we can tap into to share a number of these solutions. And I also think there are a number of other organizations within the country that basically no one else maybe knows about. Maybe even some of them could have come for this conference, but probably no one knows about them. But if these solutions, if there could be some sort of platform on where we can sort of coordinate all these solutions, I think we can be doing a good job for our smallholders. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Peter. Next, please. Madam, you can take a seat.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. I'm called Gerard Kato. I work for the Hunger Project Uganda. I want to thank Uganda Agribusiness Alliance for convening us here. My quick observation is on I like the enablers. Mr. Katende, they are very, very good and spot on. My quick submission is on the extension services. I don't know if we have the naive colleagues here. I feel as a country we need to ensure that we streamline agriculture extension services so that we mitigate the risks of the farmer on the farm. We have a lot of structures that are supposed to be supporting the farm, but somehow there's no coordination. Look at the fisheries officers, the vets, the agriculture engineers, the production department. I hear now also Uganda Coffee Development Authority will be recruiting extension workers. I mean, we need to see Maive more strong in terms of promoting harmonization so that we have a very robust agriculture extension service. Secondly, I need to appreciate government for being able to raise allocation to the budget, to the agriculture budget. I know it's now around 3.2% from 2 something. But still, that's not enough. We need to walk the talk. I feel if we appreciate the role of agriculture, we need to invest in it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, General.
My name is Mohan Rao. Thanks for giving me the opportunity here. I am from Farm Engineering and Gromo Seeds. I like to support GAZ what Madam has given the points. I wanted to give you some more points on the farming. In the farmer sector, there are so many people are doing the farming, but right yield we are not getting. To get the right yield, many farmers doesn't do soil testing, means which crop you want to put in that land. I like to recommend government should take soil testing labs in villages or town councils to arrange that one. And second, we have to go for mechanization to get a maximum yield so that farmer will be happy to get more profit. Then I want to talk about banks and corporations. You see, like a large farm scales, only farmers get finance from the banks. I wanted to see in a small scale farmers to get a finance on this. And my last point is that outgrowers, like if we are a seed company, we wanted to encourage a lot of outgrowers. I wanted to get some tripod arrangement with a bank and a seed company and a farmer. If government can come in between and we can achieve more seed production or farming production, anything. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much too.
Thank you.
The lady can take a seat there. Then we come to this lady here. She has been waiting. Oh, he's also here. Okay. After.
Thank you very much. I'm Lumonya Faith from Siatini, Uganda. Siatini is Southern and Eastern Africa Trade Information and Negotiations Institute, and we do trade policy analysis and advocacy. One of the reasons why I ran up here, even when I saw that the men had already made up the total five, is because I believe in gender and women economic empowerment. And so I came because I knew that in any case, I would still be given an opportunity to speak because I'm a woman. So thank you, Chair. I would like to comment on the issue of the policy framework within which we operate. I think that is one area that we need to rethink, and especially when it comes to developing the agriculture sector. I know that we are all familiar with the Structure Adjustment Program, the SAPs, that we were encouraged to adopt and implement by the World Bank and IMF. And I hope that we are all aware as well that today IMF itself is also saying that the structure adjustment programs actually have not delivered development for very many developing countries as they had so assumed. And the structure adjustment programs basically entail deregulation, where we look at government reducing its direct involvement in business, and then privatization, where government parastatals are sold off to private sector, and that is where we have adopted the notion around private sector-led development. And then liberalization, where we open up our economy, liberalize the economy, and allow for us to be able to trade freely, bring in, but also take out in terms of imports and exports. I would like to specifically talk about the area of market development. He mentioned it in his presentation, and I would just like to give one example of where we as a country are failing. We have most recently, under the East African Community, concluded negotiations for a trade agreement with the European Union. And one of the provisions of the issues that are being proposed by the European Union is that when we commence implementation, one of the things that we are supposed to do is progressively stop imposing export taxes. And yet we are all aware that export taxes are a tool that we can be able to use to enhance industrial development. And for the agriculture sector, it would be our agro-industry development. The European Union has a global raw material strategy. And for them, their strategy is looking at how do we secure cheaper raw materials globally. And so when they come and propose such an agreement, the idea is for them to be able to have access to raw materials from within countries like Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, under the Economic Partnership Agreement. So when we are discussing agricultural development, it's important for us to look broadly, even within the context of the global economy. We want to invest in agriculture so that we can be competitive, so that we can be able to increase our incomes. But what kind of policy framework are we operating under? The lady from the rural sector mentioned about the interest rates. whereas we are talking about a private sector-led development, it does not mean that government should completely relegate their role to be able to actually ensure that the private sector operates within an environment that enables them to be competitive. I know the government role is around providing a favorable policy environment, but is the government actually playing its role in that particular context? So I think it's important that even as we discuss agriculture investment, we should also take into account the policy framework. And my final point would be that for the agriculture sector, we need to rethink the kind of policy framework within which we are operating. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I gave you extra time because you're a lady. Next, please.
Thank you so much. My name is Orisa Rafael Jawino, Managing Director, Divine Masters. We are farmers, commercial farmers at that, and we work with over 6,000 farmers, how to grow as smallholder farmers. On the basis of that, I want to address two areas. One is the organization of the production sector, because that is basically where I come from. Because as farmers, we are looking into how can, say, the government come in to reorganize the production, because even when we talk about the marketing and financing and all that, and yet we have not organized how the production is going to be done, it still remains a challenge to us. And as farmers, we are looking into how can the technology that we think about globally and regionally, whatsoever, can enhance the production. And we are looking at the local farmer down, the farmers that we work with, how can this technology trickle down to them? So we are looking at a structure upon which the government can help us to bring in a technology that can help the farmers. Here we are, as farmers, for instance, we take in our investment into the production, but how does the farmer look at this? This is where we are also failing, and we are seeking how can government come in to help us. How does the farmer honor the contracts and obligations that they undertake with these private sectors? At the end of the day, we realize that we, the investors into the agricultural sector, are failing to get out our investment. And does that help us or help the country? If we are looking at if the government can come in to partner with these private investors, say us, and providing subsidies in areas of production, because this is where the banks are not coming in. And if the government is also keeping quiet, then there's nobody who's coming to uplift the primary production. And where there's no volume for marketing, then you cannot talk of marketing. For instance, right now we are talking of export.
I'm sorry, I'm going to keep it to 2 minutes so that everybody else can talk. So summarize so that we have other people to give their views. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So we are talking of export. We have off-takers who come into the country looking for volumes and volumes of produce, but they can't find it. So this also comes into the area of bulking and the storage facilities, post-harvest handling from the farmers to the what? To off-takers. So this is where we are looking at how can government come in to help us as the investors into the sector to streamline the aspect of production, marketing. Initially, we used to have cooperative marketing. Today, this is a myth. We just talk about it on papers, on forums, and whatever. But down, how can we organize this? Can government help us? For instance, for us, we are trying to organize farmers that will less bulk and market.
Thank you. Your time is over.
Thank you.
The next, please. Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Gabriel Emmanuel, and I work with Promo Seeds in the planning, evaluation, and monitoring unit. I would like to talk about the land tenure system in Uganda, and in my view, it is problematic as well. For example, it does not favor very much the private sector investment, especially for the seed sector, where you need, for producing quality seed, you need an amount of isolation. So you find that where you access land, it is maybe it is land belonging to someone in a block, but then it has squatters, and the squatters would be very, very difficult to remove, and sometimes the government is not very helpful in mediation and trying to arrange so that you achieve your goal as a seed company of isolation, and that makes it very difficult to produce certain varieties like a hybrid sunflower. It needs a lot of isolation, or even maize. You find that you are trying to produce quality maize, and on your neighbor there is somebody with very poor quality that is going to cross-pollinate and all that. And then sometimes also the land law does not allow you security of tenure. You feel very insecure and all that. And then also the land tenure system is very, very unfriendly to the women, especially the traditional one. The women cannot access land. They cannot own land, other than if they maybe get empowered, they can buy. But the system doesn't allow them equal rights to the land. Then the system also does not favor mechanization, because it allows for fragmentation. And yet if you have to do proper agricultural production, you need to have block land. And I would like to take an example of Rwanda, where they
I think I will cut you here short.
Yes.
The land issue, I think, will be addressed. The next one, please.
Good morning. Emma Nalima is my name. I'm a farmer. And how I wish, I know all of us are farmers and we love farmers, but how I wish there were many farmers. I'm a smallholder farmer. Now, the issue of financing. First of all, farmers out there know exactly what they want. They just need to be given little money, just enablers for them to work. I'll give an example. One day, I wanted to import a pig. And I went to the bank that I'd been in this bank for 5 years. They had everything of mine. They knew how I was banking. And the bank manager advised me, they told me, no, we don't finance agriculture. And he advised me to buy a car. So that if I bought a car, I sell it and then I buy equipment. So you can imagine, that's the dilemma. I was so lucky that at least I had a car that I sold actually. I didn't borrow money to buy a car. I just sold my car and then bought whatever I wanted to buy. So financing, we have issues there with the bankers. And then we have also, with farmers, I belong to many, many farm groups. These farmers just need little information, polishing up, and they will make sure that everything works out well. 10 years ago, the pig wasn't really known, or people never knew how to make money out of a pig. But right now, it's the most flourishing, what do I call it, agricultural sector. All is beginning to flourish. Now, about inputs. Government tries to make inputs or provide inputs for these people, for us, but this is the challenge, is that sometimes when you bring these inputs and give them to us, some farmers are not educated or they're not told what to do. Now, when it's a campaign season, inputs are going to be brought or they were brought, and it's really dry. They're not even followed up. They've not even been told that can you irrigate. And there's little. All they need to do is maybe be told that irrigate, give this particular fertilizer, which actually they have. There's so much information that they need to just be given, but just polishing up. And then the issue of extension farmers, extension workers. I'm a vet. The issue of extension farmers, unfortunately, our education system has just gone haywire. Like we come out, many of the people who are coming out right now, they're agronomists, agriculturalists, but they're on paper.
Your time now is over, madam. Next. 3 points well made.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Edwin Msings. I work for AgriSolutions International. It's an organization that is aiming at giving consultant services to farmers. Recently, we took farmers to Israel so they can get hands-on information, then come back and give advice to their fellow farmers. In September, we're intending to also take a minimum of 5 farmers to Australia so that they can have hands-on to these farms in Australia. These are the guys who have experience in farming, so they can come and help our farmers improve our agriculture. My first point is about tax. Recently, I was I had a communication from the Commissioner General URA, where he was proposing that agriculture should also pay tax, which was actually suggesting 6%. Agriculture contributes around 20% to Uganda's GDP, which is 13.2%, which is still at a lower level compared to the region. I feel 6% is much more compared to how we need to improve agriculture to the level we want to. Yes, paying taxes is good, but have we reached at that level of paying 6% for farmers? How about this low farmer who is operating at a low income scale? We can pay taxes, but at least it can be to a 3%. So that if you produce and you're selling maybe to a factory or a hotel, then you can pay 3%, but not 6%. We have been seeing how the government coming in to levy taxes to farmers. Another point would be on financing. I have a problem with banks. I happen to work for a bank, but my problem was on financing structurally. These banks do not understand the type of agriculture we deal in. Most of our agricultural farmers do farming which is seasonal. You cannot structure my loan into a monthly term as a person who is in Chikubo selling every day. For example, I'm doing crop farming. I will expect to get money after the harvest. You should be able to understand that you're financing me, but I will get money after 3 or 4 months. Then I pay back your loan.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Julian?
Nice to be here. I'm Julian Ajero Mara. CEO Delight Uganda Limited. I'm a practical farmer and I'm a manufacturer. To me, I look at things in a different way. We need demand in whatever we do. I will first, in a few minutes, I will request to share my model. I produced here as drills. I realized there is demand for the raw materials, those are the fruits, and I had to look for the area where I can produce best fruits. So I went to Noya district. I started a model. I put a nuclear farm. I started the outgrower scheme, and I also signed for animal oil with the government under public-private partnership. So when I started that, I realized that there are so many models which can be like mine, because I developed 2,000 outgrowers, and all of them they have planted the mangoes. I have planted at least 800 acres of mangoes, and the community have been sensitized and they are very positive, and also the government through NADS. I would come and try to labor for them, and after that then I would get some inputs, that is the mango seedling, the oranges, and I monitored the outgrowers. I realized that the same model can work if there is a demand. For example, you look at rice in Uganda, we still import rice. But if really there is a total ban on importation of rice, people who are dealing in rice will be forced to go back to the villages, work with the community to produce enough rice to feed the country. I look at also, if there is a total ban on crude alcohol, you find that in the north, people can produce sorghum, that is a puripuri sorghum, can produce cassava as the raw materials. Those companies who are producing alcohol will be forced to work with smallholder farmers, and will be forced to work with the middle people who are now brokers will also be forced to invest in agriculture. I look at if there is already import, total ban on crude vegetables oil, people will be forced, the manufacturers themselves, to go and organize those farmers and produce for them. Now, if there is demand, people will be forced to invest in agriculture because they will be sure of the market, and also the manufacturers will be forced to mobilize those people and organize them. Then the government also should come and reinforce the extension service, because I'm already doing the extension service with the help of the ABI Trust, and we are very successful. And the people in Uganda, they are tired of poverty. Everybody is willing to work, because if you look at Kampala today, people are suffering so much. But the problem is we are not together, we are not organized. Another challenge we are having is as private sector and entrepreneurs, we know what we want exactly, but at times we lack the technical know-how. People who are qualified in those fields to come and work with us, and we also mentor the youth to go and join up the scheme like in the villages and produce more. Then after producing, where we have challenges like buying the machinery, the government should come in and the donors should come in and help us so that we can have the most sophisticated agri industry, so that we can produce and export our whatever we can produce.
Thank you, Julian. Thank you, Julian. There are two ladies here. I think they have overstepped near me. They would like to go back to their seats.
Just a minute. For example, when I look at Acholi land, where you come from, sir, we have a big land and the people are ready to do the work, but who to lead them, who to organize them, and to be rest assured of the market. To me, I really feel that in Uganda we have everything we need, but we lack a unity. We need to work together. The private sector, the professionals, the government, and the donor community. If we can join up together, the little money we have, we invest it in the right way, and we also involve the youth, those who are still energetic, to come up and plan more. I'm sure Uganda will be very successful in our agriculture.
Thank you. That is inclusiveness and interrelationship. The lady next to me.
Thank you very much, Chair. My name is Lilian Nyakuni, and I work for Aloesian Organic Natural Health Products. Now, concerning the way forward presented to us today by Mr. Katende, when you look here on the projector, there is one aspect that is lacking out. Other sectors have embraced it, that is communication and marketing. If for example, we have the technical people in the agriculture sector, how can these technical people get to pass on the information to the ordinary people? This is when we need information to be passed on to them through the communication and marketing. We have policies that have been made. I'm so glad that the former speaker has benefited from these policies, the frameworks that have been put in place. But policies in Uganda, more so in the agriculture sector, are more literally left at the making table, and they're never known to the people who are supposed to benefit from them. My whole idea is, if we embrace the whole aspect of marketing and communicating these policies and enabling the information to be passed on to the people, it will help us. The other thing is that when you look at some countries, I'll take an instance of Kenya and Norway. These people have set up websites specifically for their farmers or their agricultural people. You find you log onto a website, you'll get to know, I want coffee. Which person will I get? The people who produce coffee will be laid out on the database. You know where and when to get them. But when it comes to Uganda, it's those who are well placed that will do that and will get the market. What if we as the agriculture sector do the same for all our agricultural producers? At the end of the day, we shall not have to include bans on each and everything. We need the competition. Yes, competition is healthy, At the end of it all, let people appreciate our things for what they are, not because they're being forced to appreciate them. That's what I think. Therefore, I believe communication and marketing should be inclusive in the way forward.
Thank you very much for your suggestion. Lady on the right, then we'll go to the gentleman.
Good morning. My name is Meg Jakeway. I have two hats here today. I am the general manager for Jacana Foods in Kawempe, and I'm also the vice president of the American Chamber of Commerce here in Uganda. My couple of points coming from an agro-processor's perspective, an exporter's perspective, and an American's perspective. First, I think someone mentioned earlier about mindset change. As an agro-processor, I am encouraging the government to recognize value addition at the farm level. And I say that because of our organic status in this country. If you don't know it, Jacana Foods is an organic certified exporter. And there are nearly 200,000 certified organic farmers in this country. But it's not recognized in any policy. It's not recognized by any government official that I can ever find, that they recognize this. And this is what the last speaker from Aloysia was talking about. If we don't market what we have here, Uganda is second in the world for this. And it's something that European nations want. It's something that the American market wants. And it's the fastest growing food segment, but yet we don't recognize it in the government policy. So I'm really encouraging that we finally put forth that organic policy in this country so that we can recognize it and market it. The other thing is, Jacana Foods has been around for 22 years, and you'd think that maybe it could be a lot bigger than it is. Well, policies have not been very favorable. The policies do not support local agro-processing here. I'm going to be flat out with that. Why should imported juice have not to pay VAT, but yet we as a local agro-processor have to pay VAT. So we're automatically at a disadvantage for that. Cheers has that problem, we have that problem, and any of the others that are producing local products here have that problem. Subsidies. Does everybody know that, we import, or we in America, we would not be eating bread and be as big as we are if our government didn't subsidize our farmers, especially for things like wheat. Right? So, Uganda right now imports wheat from America because it's cheaper than what it is to produce wheat here. Why? Because there's no subsidies to encourage that wheat growing. Just like the Aloysia lady was saying about, or the Cheers lady was saying about banning certain products. We just need to encourage local agro-processing, and there really is no support of it. And as far as extension services, I as an agro-processor in the organic sector, I have to pay for all my own extension services. There's nobody out there who's supporting it. Seeds are being given out that are full of chemicals, not being educated to the farmers. They could be contaminating my farmers' farms. We're spraying, anti-malaria things in the air over areas that might have organic farms, and you're immediately damaging our organic status. So that's why I say we need a policy that recognizes it, because you're going to harm this industry. And if this country wants to continue to be an export positive country and not a net importer, then we need to recognize that the growth markets are out there and not necessarily just here. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I think now the ladies have their chances. I can see a row of gentlemen now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I'm Robert Omoding. I work with the Kakira Sugar Limited, a company located in Busoga region. I'm the outgrowers manager, and mainly dealing with 9,000 farmers, are supplying 70% of their cane to the factory. I'm privileged to be here, and I think in most situations, what has been presented is very pertinent to the development of the agricultural sector. Important to say is the need for the multi-sectoral approach in this area. I should put a case in point in regarding to Kakira, and this is where you find that a policy framework for sugarcane production is very important. Here we can now see a situation where we have
no policy so far. I think it is getting to Parliament. And here is a situation where the quality of cane supply is being compromised. Now the competition aspect has come in. The farmers are getting to suffer. You are going to get immature canes and those kinds, so many aspects, and this may not be the forum to say, but I think it is very important for this to be understood in that it can lead to the collapse of the sugar industry. And if it collapses, then it is pathetic to see that the farmer who has been benefiting from the cane industry will be the last person to suffer. Anyway, the policy I'm trying to mention is that a sugar factory should be located 25 kilometers from, 50 kilometers from any other factory. And this one, most people may be already aware of. I think the parliamentarians will take it up seriously. Another interesting thing I would like to share is what is the Agra concept that has been mentioned here? Maybe Mr. Katende will guide me. What is our approach in Kakira is, I call it also very important, and it has been benefited to many farmers. One area is that the company finances the farmers in plowing, giving inputs, and recovers it later when the sugarcane is supplied. We also assist farmers directly to the banks through giving comfort letters. That is, if sugarcane, with that basis, a farmer can access a loan from. Mainly, we are dealing with the tropical bank. So the Agra, approach would be very useful. Mechanization is very important. As already mentioned, for us, we specify to say a farmer should have around 2 hectares to go for cane. And this allows, I think it will go to the land tenure system, which you are saying it will be dealt with later, because that's when you can look at the economics of scale. And because our land sometimes is, inheritance, there is a lot of, breaking of less land into these other minute pieces which may not be economical. So we need to look at that seriously.
Last point, please.
The last point is we need to understand our environment. What is our soil? And do we have the right varieties? And these are all very important. But above all, insurance is important. Like us in sugarcane, when fire guts the field, the farmer is gone. I think these are important areas.
Oh, thank you very much. Those who had given notes, questions in terms of notes, Mr. Katende will have the time to answer it. We have until 11 o'clock for this session. So the next one, please.
Thank you very much. My name is Edrisa Sembatia from Yunus Social Business. And because I'm from Yunus Social Business, I'm going to tell you that farming is a business. You probably know it, but the local farmers do not know it. They do not know that what they are doing is actually a business, and no one has guided them to that fact. When Professor Muhammad Yunus, who is also our chairman, wanted to address the issue of poverty in the world, he set out to start up social business, to solve the world's poverty challenge through a social business. And if we can also realize that the farmers, we call it investment, we call it a practice, but actually farming is a business. Let me give you an example, and I'll also share a solution to this. I recently attended a workshop of local farmers, and they were talking about how they can come together to start rabbit farming and export the rabbits to Kenya. So I got excited because our organization provides funding, what we prefer to call patient capital, $50,000 to $450,000. So I gave them a call to come and see if we can meet them. But when I talked to the gentleman, I asked him how they're going to do it. Whatever they're going to be doing, he tells me that they're just going to export this stuff. So I asked him, do you have a business? Are you registered? Can we finance you? He asked me a question, why are you saying, do I have a business? I've been here for 8 years. How can you say, I don't have a business? And he cut me off. So local farmers do not understand that what they are doing is a business practice. And what I want to request of the Uganda Agribusiness Alliance is we need to change the approach and the mindset, like it has already been said. We need to change the approach and make the farmers appreciate that what they are doing is a business. When we provide financing to social businesses. They go out, create value chains of farmers. These farmers are trained in how to provide this produce to these social businesses. But you have to ask yourself the question, what is the farmer going to do with the money that he has received from these social businesses that we're financing? Is he going to marry another wife? Is he going to reinvest that money into his activity? If he does not know that whatever he is doing is a business, he's going to misuse the small, what we prefer to call increase in household income, is going to misuse it for something else that will not actually benefit him. So if we can find, what I want to recommend also to Uganda Agribusiness Alliance is that if we can find women who are smallholder farmers and support them with business development services, just like we are doing for social impact entrepreneurs. If we can find these women, support them with business development services so that they can improve their livelihood and appreciate farming as a business, I think we'll solve a lot of poverty challenges.
Thank you very much. There's a special request which I may not turn down. In my order, Mr. Apollo seems to have been called somewhere and is leaving us, so we're giving you exactly 2 minutes so that we can continue our process.
Thank you very much. My name is Apollo Segawa. I'm the board of UAA and I chair CHURAD. CHURAD is an agribusiness incubator with Mackay University. I'll take it on right where he left off, business development services. My core contribution and push is about agribusiness incubation. Farmers have been trading with their products over a whole lot of years, and they don't know they're doing business. Agribusiness incubation teaches the farmer, the processor, or the small trader that is actually doing business. Help him to structure that business, show him how to trade, show him how to keep records, guide him to the market, and ensure that he runs sustainably and actually grows his business. So agribusiness incubation is one of the core ways to structure the farmer, the producer, the processor, to ensure they actually earn money from what they're doing, and they do it in a structured way. The incubation process provides the full business development services, and beyond that, it helps to handhold the farmer to certify, not only the farmer actually, even the processor, to certify their produce, guide them to the market, link them up with those who need what is producing, and ensure they actually make money. So this is a core aspect that needs to be mainstreamed into all our agricultural programs in the country. We now have almost 12 incubators in the country, which we have grouped under the Uganda Agribusiness Alliance, who is a member of the UAA. And under this organization, we are pushing to ensure that agribusiness incubation is actually mainstreamed in all government programs. Basically, rather than getting a chunk of money, giving it to a group of youths who don't know business, who have not been trained, who don't have the framework of support, mentoring, who is not trained on what they're going to do, rather have agribusiness incubation as one of the key measures to actually train these youths, show them where the money can be made, help them to package what they are producing, link them to markets in a coordinated manner and under a full mentorship program.
Thank you.
This is what I call upon all of us to look at as we plan for the agriculture in the country.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the incubation. The next one.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'm Titus Kasuja, representing Danish AgroConnect, a company which has roots in Denmark. I'm the CEO for that company, and personally I've been in Denmark for the last 25 years. Now, someone talked about marketing and communication, and I believe everyone here is a farmer, and I take back my frustrations to you farmers. One, the reasons. One, farmers, you are like co-wives. You don't want to share information. In the 2-3 years, the Danish Agro Connect has been existing here. We have been holding conferences around, and I think probably some of you have been here. Last year we held a conference in a Sheraton Hotel, whereby I was involved in bringing about 70 Danish investors and partners who wanted to partner with Ugandan farmers. Unfortunately, or good enough, not unfortunately, there were about 7 farmers who managed to partner with the farmers in Denmark. What do we do actually? We deal in seeds, vegetable seeds, we deal in artificial insemination, and Danish Agro Connect represents about 5 reputable companies based in Denmark. One is called Vicma, which is one of the best in the whole world dealing in seeds. We are representing also Viking. It's called Viking in Genetics. That's one of the best old companies in Denmark, which is dealing in semen for cows, both for milk and meat. Other companies we are representing, one is called also Danish Know-how. That's one of the best companies in the whole of Europe, which gives out the Danish know-how in farming.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think time is really not on our side. We are going to have just this batch now.
Okay.
We are going to continue discussions later on. If you have, if we have been missed out, please let us break for tea at 11. You'll get an opportunity later. Please, just your last point, please.
My last point, Danish Agro Connect has been in the process of actually looking for partners, not agents. We are looking for partners throughout the whole of Uganda in every district so that we can partner together and we have our products direct to the farmers. So anyone who is interested to partner with us, you are welcome to contact us and we find out how we can further the partnership.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the lady can have a seat, and this will be the last round. Next, please. 2 minutes.
Peter Samanya. I'm a seasoned banker, and I've been majoring mostly in lending to farmers, giving credit to farmers. Now, I think it will be like a continuation from the previous speakers. There's a major problem we are having in the country, and I think it's missing on our way forward here. It's all about financial literacy to the farmers. You find that most farmers, yes, we are here for us, we know something about agriculture, but we are not directly practicing agriculture in the villages on the ground. These farmers don't know the processes and procedures of getting money from financial institutions. A farmer will come to the bank, tell you, I have my farm in Semuto, I rear a chicken, or I do this and this, I want a certain amount of money for my farm, to improve my farm. Now, when you try to go into details about as in what exactly he wants to use the money for, the ingredients, or how he wants to restructure his farm, you find that the person does not really know the real reason for proper use of this money. So that's why most commercial banks don't want to lend these people, because of the high risk. My point of what I'm really stating here is that we should really try to go to the ground. We who know something, actually, now like me know something credit, if we go and educate these farmers that if you want to get money through commercial banks, do this and this and this and this. This is how you should use the money. If your business is mostly seasonal, you do something this season, come back next time and be able to access the money. But the person can come today, you interact with the person, you tell him to wait for some good time, the person doesn't come back. That's in your mind. So the problem we are having really is that before the value chain development, before the financial sector development, before the marketing, let's try to go to the ground and communicate with these farmers so that they can really, they have information about the stages, about the whole agricultural field. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Gentlemen
Okay. Thank you very much. Walube Paul is my name. I'm the Managing Director of Promised Land Education and Agricultural Development. We are based in Usoga. The company is currently promoting cocoa production and marketing in Mayuge district. We have done that work now for almost 2 years, and we realized the cocoa subsector is one of those sectors that have been marginalized. It has not been receiving extension services. It has not been receiving even the credit we are talking about. And having joined that sector, we now have a host of requests from farmers. What we have realized is that they really need inputs, mainly for pests and disease control, but the sector is lacking financing. We are also piloting a model in which we want them to collectively market their cocoa outputs. But the challenge we are having is that they have a lot of basic needs. Most of them talk of school fees, medical expenses, housing, and they cannot afford to follow the standards that are required by the international market to prepare the cocoa before it reaches there, unless their needs have been responded to. Now this one, to me, it also just emphasizes what other speakers have already talked about. We really need a multi-sectoral approach if we are to improve the agriculture sector. The multi-sectoral approach, the way I've looked at it, some of the needs which the farmers demand are being handled by other ministries, for example, or other players. But in a conference like this one, you might be surprised that they are not part of us. For example, the people in health, for which the farmers need the services against their crop enterprises. The people in education. So if we are to improve the agriculture sector, we really need to work together collectively. Some stakeholders have said that the farmers don't know what they need. Me, I want to differ. That is a lie. The farmers know what they want, and the farmers know that they are in business, because what they are currently doing is what has enabled them to meet some of their needs. And you can't say that they don't know that they are in business. All we need is to improve on where they are so that they are able to reap more from their enterprises.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, let me just wind up with this point. Mr. Katend has talked of a certain meeting which took place. That meeting was in June. We had a meeting in which we were sharing with IFC and FAO. The visitors who had come on that day, they were asking us whether it is possible to organize the farmers to use their produce as collateral instead of land, like it is usually required by the banks. Now, at a later stage, what I will need is to hear from him whether he really tried to present this idea as part of the recommendations. Because for us, we are now piloting it. The farmers are willing, but what they all require is some intermediary which has a fund that really enables them to respond to immediate needs. Some of them can't wait. But this one could help them to improve the quality of the inputs which the international market wants. Because as for cocoa is one of the highly paying enterprises. If you are comparing it with the other enterprises, maybe you need like 5 kilograms to sell before you reach to 1 kilo, the amount of money which the farmer gets from 1 kilo of cocoa.
The gentleman on my left and then the gentleman on my right.
Thank you, Chairman. My name is Mugabe Grigore. I'm the chairman, Kayonza Growers Tea Factory in Kanungu District. We've been in this business for over 50 years. And it is strictly a smallholder tea factory of 8,000 farmers. I will start with commending some members who have talked about planting material. In this area, the challenge which I've been having was on planting material, but the government is doing it. But the challenge that is there is that they are doing it
without looking into the issue of fertilizer. Tea cannot grow without fertilizer. So we need to look at this and say have a complete package where farmers can access planting material as well as fertilizer to enable that tea to grow. What is going to happen is that all the tea and all the money that has been pushed in this sector is going to waste when a farmer cannot access fertilizer. Two, the other challenge I want to bring out for the tea sector is about the markets. We've been having our 90% of the produce in the country sold through Mombasa auction market. And that auction, where you cannot influence it, you just get what you take your tea there, 90%, and at times your tea is discounted. And what you get is that Ugandan teas are not good, but we have done our best. For our factory has been leading in Uganda for the last 5 years as the best producing tea. But when it goes to the auction, what we get, the difference we get per kilogram is really alarming. You get $1.5 when actually other factories are getting $5 per kilo. So government need to work out bilateral agreements so that we can have direct markets and we do away with this auction that is cheating farmers. Another point which I want to emphasize is about regulation. Currently tea is not regulated. Someone would just come up with an idea to set up a factory without following up anything because there is no guideline on it. And this is compromising the way we operate. So the regulation, whether a tea regulatory authority, whether a tea board, must be in place so that the government is able to monitor what goes on in the tea industry when you look at what they are putting in. The other issue which government need to help the tea farmers in order to remain competitive is about tea research. There is hardly any tea research in the country. What is there actually, I can't say that it is serving the purpose of the farmers because we are depending on materials from Kericho, from Kenya. And this is a different environment. You bring materials tested in Kenya and you plant them here. And it does not perform. So government need to do on that on tea research so that farmers now can be able to benefit from their own environment. Time is against me, but we also need to look at value addition. This is an area where government must support the tea sector to look at value addition so that we can increase our local consumption of tea rather than depending on bulk export. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Chairperson. Alan Sebuli Menjuba. I work with CAPCA, an abbreviation of Central Agricultural Province Caritas Association. It's a consortium of Caritases within Central Province. Basically, I have 3 points, but first I wanted to maybe suggest an addition on the projected model. Under regulation, I also suggest maybe to add coordination. And here I'm talking about coordination among government agencies, but also with private sector. Because like previous speaker noted, that is a big challenge we are having. That you find MAIF doing itself, you find the other side, you find MTIC. That coordination is really lacking. We need to see that it's in there, captured. I go straight to what I have. Professionalization is one point. When we talk professionalization, actually, GIZ lady noted it. That I will work with farmers, personally work with farmers. Currently we've established and registered and we are supporting 14 cooperatives and 13 associations. But the issue is when you talk of like business plans, when you talk of business records, when they walk to banks, most of these farmers cannot, they are asking, bring a feasibility report. Where can a farmer, where can, speaking, our education, of course, it's not like Europe that farmers are first trained. They go to the chamber, they are trained for so much, and it's a professional.
But here, that kind of professionalization is lacking. I think we need to focus so much. It's partly by CSOs, we need to inspire our efforts, but also I think government should do something when it comes to extension in terms of professionalizing farmers, giving them the skill set, and the knowledge they require on farm, but also off farm. Then the banks. Yes, credit is hard to access, but how many banks ever sit with the farmers to dialogue? The moment they come, do you have collateral? You are risky. But beyond that, can't you sit with farmer and dialogue with him or her? How can we help one another? We in Germany interface with the German agricultural bank, and they told us we sit and we dialogue. We even reach a point of moving to farms to see that these farmers stays in business. But is it happening here? Most of our loan and most of our banks basically is maybe so much in business, MBA guys, nothing like maybe skills to know this crop takes its gestation period. You need to sit with the farmer and know that this is what we need to do to support this farmer. I think this is something lacking. Then the issue of attitude goes still with professionals. I think also on the other side of farmers need to appreciate that when changes come in terms of behavior, we need to appreciate it. For instance, I'll give you a scenario. In the cooperative we're trying to nurture, we've given many times yield estimates for farmers to estimate the expected yields of coffee. But many times you reach and they say we didn't use them, we didn't. So I think it goes with changing attitudes and the like. Then let me maybe conclude because I'm seeing chairman. Taxation. I think issues of subsidies, many times when they say subsidies are lacking, the best subsidy possible you can get is to reduce on taxation. I'll give you a scenario. We gave out 6 coffee hallers to farm associations. And to date, only 2. We gave them in 2000, only 2 are functional. Why? Farmers were asked to buy transformers. These are real farmers. They built the structures, we gave them the go, but they cannot access the grid. We approached Raya kept on saying, we shall see. Until lately that one of our assets bought a transformer. They got a partner now, bought it at 92 million. Now you can see, so what subsidy, what is it? You are talking about value addition. You want to sell value coffee. But where is government?
Thank you. We are now running over time. I will start with the lady so that she can go and relax. Then the gentleman will conclude. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, my name is Abesika Julian Dorothy. I work with the Directorate of Economics Affairs and Research. And I mainly want to talk about information flow because that's all we are talking about, information flow. So right in this house, in Kampala or in places where this is informed, everybody knows that we know what value addition is. But guess what? I come from Kashari. Those people don't even know what value addition is. Yes? They don't know the definition of value addition. They don't know what you talk about when you say subsistence farming. They probably are practicing subsistence farming, but they don't know what they're doing. Now, we need to get out of our seats, office seats in particular, and go down there and talk to them. Now, we may be thinking, yes, I'm actually from campus, and we may be thinking people who are coming from campus are not interested and are unserious. But this is what I have to say. I don't think I can engage in agriculture when my mom in the village is suffering. I'm seeing she's not getting support. She's suffering with interest rates. She's suffering with all these taxes. And I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to start an agricultural, plot, and then I start growing rice. We need to first deal with the problems that are present if we want to raise up the youth of today. Now, if the youth of today are graduating and are coming out, and in their head, the perspective we all know, and everybody tells us that there are no jobs. That is what everybody knows. But when we are in these conferences, we say agriculture provides jobs. Yes, agriculture probably provides 86% of the jobs that we have in Uganda. But we need to first convince us that when we go in when we start, maybe if YLP gives us money, let's say we start up maize production, the next year our maize is not going to dry up because why? We went to the bank and they refused to give us a loan. Yeah, so we need to add information to that chart. If information is, how many of you know, actually you all know that Jumia gives food, you all know that there are smartphones. How many of you have no smartphone? Like Like you see, I don't see a hand here. You all got to know about the smartphone because they informed you that there is a Samsung, there is an iPhone, and these days people keep track of which type is coming. And you know, we need, if we are taking these petty things like phones as important, you need to understand that people there don't have WhatsApp to form WhatsApp groups. You need to understand that people don't have Facebook to form Facebook groups. You need to know that they're there. Actually, we went digital, so that means they don't have televisions. So everything there is a mess. They have no phone. That means even when you go on radio and announce, they have no radios. Now we need to go down there and tell them, you know what, value addition is this, this and this. You need to change from subsistence to commercial. So how will I benefit? I will benefit like this and this and this. But if we sit here and it only ends on TV and you're like, you know what, we did the communication, it won't work. It won't work. We need to go down there and translate in our languages, tell them that, you know what, you need to start growing and selling, but then you need to add something, maybe pack it like this, not like this. And that's the way we'll export.
Thank you. Point well made. Thank you. Last but not least.
Thank you so much. I'm Mr. Tiaserogals. By names, I'm from Equator Seed. I think it's quite privileged for me to have also such a forum for agriculture. It's my first time to be in these gatherings, and I think I'm really receiving a lot of gadgets from everyone. When we talk about at the beginning that really we need to involve the youth also in agriculture, really, I think I'm one of them. Because I joined, agricultural sector when I was like 14 years. But as per now, really, I've really got a lot of information beside agric. Now, why up to now still people are backsliding instead of going ahead beside agriculture? Me, as one of the sale agronomists for a company, I look as if people are just backsliding. What are the knowledge, what are the technical knowledge, informations are we really giving to the farmers? Why still up to now, we are just looking at the government? Are we not part of the government? We have the NGOs, we have the actually private sectors, everyone is there. Now, can we really now come into a point that the farmers are at a level where they can get information everywhere? Looking at the beginning, which source of seeds is the farmer getting from? Is it the local breeds? Sorry, is it the local seeds or is it hybrid seeds? What agronomic information, what are the practical informations really we are giving to them? Timely planting, at that time of planting. Are they information to know, hey, which spacing am I going to practice so that I get the quality seeds? My point's always gearing to the quality, really. When you talk about the quality, that means at the start of the planting, somebody should know the spacing. If I put like 75 by 30 centimeter and I put 10 seeds in a hole, will I really get the quality? You have many children at home, will you get the quality of a child? No. I'm looking at also during the time of marketing, you find that we are even having like, NBS, Uganda National Bureau of Standards, they're also there, they're coming in. Why don't they also come and say that please the seeds we feel like we should be exporting should be at such a level standard? Fertilizer application is a knowledge our farmers are not getting. Applications of chemical beside the seeds we have. So why don't we have these farmers registered together so that assisting them become quite easy? We have the farmers who want to even come like cooperative society members. They also want to have like commercial irrigation.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
Thank you. In interest of time, we have actually exceeded time.
Yes.
But I hear it very loud and clear. Extension workers.
Yes, please.
And in the north, they have decided to distribute coffee seedlings for farmers who have never seen coffee, but there are no extension services. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Right.
Mr. Katende.
Thank you very much, our session chair, for this morning, and for all of you, our audience. Today is our day, so each of us must have an opportunity to give us feedback. So before we leave this place at 4, you must ensure that you have said something and you have given us your feedback, because it counts. I want to let you know that the government officials are in this room. We have had 2 ministers this morning. I think they have rushed now back to cabinet. Cabinet is here. They keep coming in and out. So they are listening. They are not spying on us, but they are listening because we told them they need to listen to the private sector concerns, and we will have 1 or 2 of them in the afternoon. Mr. Muhwezi from the Ministry of Agriculture is already here. He came earlier on, but we thought instead of him coming to give us his presentation, let him hear what your views are. He will then share with us after the break. He will share with us the Uganda government's agriculture strategic plan. Then we'll have another opportunity to give him our feedback, so that if there is any tweaking needed in the strategic plan, they can do it. If it is not possible, we can collectively work together with his office to ensure that all the views and ideas in this room are not lost. There is some room for implementation. So I'm not going to dwell much on this. A number of questions have been raised, but they end up in